What's up, book watchers? Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Jordyn, and as always, I have my co-hosts here, Sarah-Daye and Chris. Sarah-Daye, how's it going?
Hi. I just came from our town's Christmas parade, so I'm ready to talk about all things Christmas.
Fun! Love that for you. Chris, how's it going?
Good, good. The Christmas tree lighting here was right now, so you guys are what I'm choosing over doing seeing the Christmas tree lighting.
Oh,
So feel
wow.
That's how
lucky.
special we are.
That is dedication for sure.
Would I have been going to it? Probably not, but I can make you feel guilty about it.
That's fine. Close enough. So happy to be back with you guys for another book to screen adaptation. I'm really excited for this one. We are doing A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And this is going to be our first inaugural coverage of A Christmas Carol because I was researching and there's been literally over 100 different film adaptations
hmm
of this story. In whatever version you like, there's been changes and alterations, which we will cover in the upcoming years, but there's been a lot. This is a very popular story. So, a brief history of Christmas Carol. It was first published in 1843. Charles Dickens self published it. And it is a story of Ebenezer Scrooge, a miserly old man who places more value on money than anyone or anything else in his life. And it tells his journey to the past, throughout the present, and into the future, as he's led by four ghosts through Christmas celebrations of various points in his life. By being forced to reflect on his past and see what he's missing out on in the present and facing his future lonely mortality, Scrooge learns the true meaning of Christmas and how to spread the joy and hope of the season with those around him. So, Sarah-Daye, we'll start with you. What is your background with A Christmas Carol? Have you read it before? How many adaptations have you seen?
Yeah, I'm sure I've seen several adaptations. I don't think I've ever read the book, but the story was so ingrained. Like all the adaptations pretty much follow the same concept, right?
Mhm.
So it wasn't nothing really surprised me when I read the book. It was all I was expecting everything. So it's going to be really fun to cover this every year and talk about the different changes. I'm really excited to talk about tonight's because I grew up on this version. But yeah, so we'll get into it, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, like story I've always known. I've seen different versions of it in different things growing up. I think VeggieTales did a version of it even back in the day of some sort or another. But I'd never read the book fully. I think I'd just seen little even radio shows of it even and things like that too. But I've always been told that the Patrick Stewart audiobook is the one to go with. And so I have had it in my list to read that one every year. And I didn't do that this time either, but that'll come next as we get a little closer to Christmas and I need that encouragement again. I'll go that way
Yeah.
probably.
If you ever find yourself lacking in the Christmas spirit, try to find an audiobook. There's probably a gazillion of them with different narrators. So yeah, there's lots of options for everybody if you're into it. I first read this story, I think like 8th grade. We covered it in English class and we went through it. And it always kind of stuck with me, just like the spirit of the season and what Christmas is all about. And it's not about and even broadly in life, life is not about hoarding money and keeping it for yourself. It's about the connections you make and sharing your life, everything in your life with other people. And I think that's a really important message for all of us, and especially for kids to get. And so I like this story, how it's approachable for a wide range of audiences.
What do you mean? That
Uh,
Scrooge character was so relatable at the beginning of the story, but then at the end he just started giving everything away and he just really fell off the table for me. I was
it was crazy.
man, that's a weird drop off there. Just kidding.
Just kidding. Yeah, so what was one of the themes I kind of touched on a couple of them, generosity, and there's a little bit of forgiveness with some of the people that Scrooge interacts with. What were some of the key themes that stuck with you guys when you were reading it?
I think that the fact that everybody around him has this Christmas spirit and has this expectation of the way society acts and the social behavior around Christmas, and for some reason Scrooge just doesn't seem to get it. And I think that the build up of that Christmas spirit and in his story is a really interesting part of the tale.
What about you, Sarah-Daye?
Yeah, same. I mean, it's the spirit of Christmas, and like he literally has the spirits of Christmas come to him and explain, what it is all about. So, and it's just, I love decorating for Christmas, especially having kids now, having them help decorate for Christmas and just getting in that Christmas spirit. It's just a really fun month. Um, and I think that's just, that's what it's trying to say. Like, it's not about money. It's not, in these families with Tiny Tim, there's all this hardship, but they are still happy and they're still making the most of it. And that's what Christmas is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So a couple more points just on the background of the story and a background on Charles Dickens, the author. So he grew up in the time that he's writing in. This is not like some alternate universe that he's writing about. Like he grew up in London in the mid 1800s, and when Scrooge mentions the debtors' prisons and the poorhouses, Charles Dickens grew up in those environments. Like he was the poor people that grew up in those environments and like had to live in that sort of hardship. Um, and when he first published the book on December 19th, when one of these episodes is dropping, so hey, check us out. Um, they printed 6,000 copies, and in literally 5 days, all of them were sold out, which I think really is a testament to how the story impacted people then and now, and why it became an adaptation, and so many different adaptations, because it just really resonated with people. And like we said, it resonates with the spirit of Christmas and what it's all about and how to, be kind to your fellow man. And it's just a really important reminder, especially in this time of year.
I feel like it's almost the kind of story you would read around the fire with your kids or your family on
Mhm.
a, when you're all gathered around on a cold winter night and Christmas time and just kind of remember why we're here.
And
Yeah.
that's what I liked about this adaptation that we're covering tonight, because like I said, I grew up with it. I watched it for the podcast with my kids, and it is the Muppets telling the story. Like
Mm-hmm.
Gonzo, I think, is Charles Dickens
Mm-hmm.
reciting his story. And so the fact that it's the Muppets, it's like it tells it is teaching the kids the story
Mm-hmm.
of Scrooge and what Christmas is all about.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of why we chose it to be our first adaptation of the Christmas Carol that we covered, because it's such a like iconic version and something that, like, if you don't really know much about the Muppets or you don't really know much about the Christmas Carol, you've probably seen a snippet or two of it somewhere throughout your life. So this adaptation came out in 1992. And it stars Michael Caine as Ebenezer Scrooge, and Kermit as Bob Cratchit, Miss Piggy as his wife Emily, the great Gonzo, like you said, Sarah-Daye, as Charles Dickens, Rizzo the Rat as himself for a fun little fourth wall break here and
Mhm.
there, and a bunch of other Muppets and a bunch of other positions. And it just kind of gives us that like childlike whimsy and fun, and they add some songs in there, which is really cool, but it still stayed really, at least in my opinion, still stayed really true to the nature of the book and the storyline. What did you guys think?
I mean, some of the lines were word for word out of the book, but they still had their own twist on the story, again, to make it more kid friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But I was impressed to see like some of the lines, and like when Gonzo starts telling the story, he literally reads the first two lines. So I think they did a really good job adapting this and stayed pretty true to the story.
Mm-hmm.
There was a few Muppety sort of things that my wife was watching with me, and she can't stand the Muppets. And she was like the rats in the office with Scrooge when he's yelling at them, getting all noisy and loud. She's like, "Gosh, I can't do that." But and so there was a few humor things that were added from the Muppets that were, I
Right.
think, fun, but definitely took away from her experience of it. So if you're not a Muppets fan, I could see that.
Right.
But
I mean, we're not really the target audience for the
no,
Muppets
exactly.
these
That's
days
the thing,
anymore.
So she got past it, and the story was fine for her. She just
Yeah.
isn't as big a fan of those characters playing the different roles. So I had never been exposed to either, really. I mean, I had some Muppet, knowledge, but I never really watched any of the movies and things like that came out. And I think I'd be interested in checking them all out. So I might go back through and start watching through some of the other options, the Haunted Mansion, the Treasure Planet, some of the other one, or Treasure Island, some of the
Treasure
other ones like
Island,
that.
yeah. Treasure Planet's its own other adaptation we're
That
going
one
to
I
cover
love.
one
So,
day.
I might be a little
Yeah.
disappointed with Treasure Island if I, watch after that. But
Right.
yeah, and I mean, I think the songs added a lot of fun to the story, that added some heart to the story that you would have been there, but it wouldn't have been quite so easy to catch on to. Songs are a really good way for us to feel the emotion that's happening in a moment. So I really liked that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this episode is our character analysis episode. So we'll go through one by one. We'll start with our main character, Mr. Scrooge. So what did you guys think of Michael Caine's portrayal of Scrooge?
Can that guy do anything wrong?
No, he can't.
What a wonderful performance from a younger Michael Caine than right
Yeah.
now. He's just like starting to go into retirement, and it was wonderful seeing him on screen.
Mm-hmm.
It was wonderful to see a younger Michael Caine. I think there was a little bit, I don't want to say overacting because it's Michael Caine, but it's also the Muppets.
That's
So
kind of what you do.
I think like with your wife, like I was pulled out of it a little bit, like, okay, this is a little much, but I mean, like you said, you can't really go wrong with Michael Caine.
Yeah, I think it was interesting because like even in those moments that I did feel like he was like, sorry, he may have been like overdoing it a little bit, it was still like the exact line from the book. And so it was just like a matter of how he was delivering it. And I was like, well, if this was more of a like adult or like dramatic performance, like I don't think he would have done that, and it would have been like
Sure.
cooler, like, or like more like how I had imagined it when reading it. But you throw the Muppets in there, it's targeted for kids. You're gonna
You have to overact
exaggerate a
when
little
it's for
bit.
the kids.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have either of you
Yeah.
seen the other versions at all? Like anything else on film?
I
I mean, like
have, but not
Mickey.
to right.
Like
I've seen the
Mickey
Mickey one, and
Mouse.
I'm pretty sure I've seen the Patrick Stewart one, and I've seen other versions, but not recently enough, and not like it's not a movie that I watch consistently throughout the Christmas season. So I'm gonna have fun with this every year when we do another adaptation, to be like, oh yeah, I do remember seeing this one, and start comparing them. Of course, the Muppets isn't going to be the best adaptation,
It's our gold standard.
so
It's
it'll
what we're
be
basing everything else off of.
so it's
I
gonna be fun
started
to
to
see the
watch. Yeah,
differences.
I started to watch the 1984 version last night just because it happened to come on TV. I didn't finish it because I wanted to keep the Muppets as my fresh one right now. But I may go back and watch that one on Pluto when it was popping up. And I bought the VHS of the Patrick Stewart one, but I have not checked it out yet for the same reason. So that'll be later this season too.
I bet that one will be the most accurate, or like, yeah, most close to it, and the more dramatic one.
I'm excited for it because I think it's going to be fun. Yeah,
I bet.
Yeah, that'll be a good time. Well, we'll cover them in the future years
of
too.
course.
So we'll get to all of them at some point.
And write in, let us know, like, which one do you want us to
Yes.
cover in 2026?
What's your
Yes,
favorite? Yep.
please. All right, moving along to our next character, Bob Cratchit, portrayed by Kermit the Frog in the Muppets adaptation. What did you guys think about Kermit?
Well, just like Michael Caine, can
Can you
Kermit
do
do any
anything
wrong? His beautiful singing voice.
I think for the character he was playing, he did it well, and it it was supposed to be that family dynamic. So they had the little Kermits as well, and the little
And little
piggies,
piggies.
and that was kind of cute. And so I thought it was he did well as that family man that had to manage the big boss of the office to make sure that everybody got their little bit of Christmas time. It's a very relatable story there too, of like sometimes there is that middle manager that is looking out for the people and making sure we all get our Christmas and whatnot, because sometimes those people at top are a little disconnected, a little Scrooge.
He's just out here doing his best for his team.
Yeah,
Amen.
his family and his team.
All right, and then we've got Miss Piggy as his wife, Emily. Miss Piggy is Miss Piggy. What are you
Yeah,
gonna
I was
do?
gonna say she's always over the top, so not much difference there.
Yeah.
And kind of accurate to his wife. So, wanted to
Mhm.
give, Scrooge a piece of her mind, and the way that, she
Mhm.
performs the role was like, okay, I could see a family struggling, reacting that way when things happen. So I could see this being accurate enough.
Yeah, I think for the first time in my life, I related very deeply to Miss Piggy
It's
in that
picky.
moment. I was like, yeah, I would do that too. I don't blame her. Okay, and then Gonzo as Charles Dickens.
Dramatic, very, very well done for,
Mhm.
what it was trying to do. A fake, a Muppet playing a character that wrote this a long time ago and trying to, embody that character. So I thought it was fine. I
Mhm.
think Gonzo of all the characters played it pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how well it would have gone over if it was like Beaker or somebody else. I think
Yeah.
Gonzo was the right choice for this one.
I think the
um,
only other one you would pick would be Kermit, but
Kermit, yeah.
I think
mhm.
Kermit has to be Bob.
Yeah,
Like Kermit and Piggy have to be the Cratchits. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I don't know who else you would pick.
yeah, yeah. How did you guys feel about adding Rizzo the Rat as himself as like a fourth wall breaking, like additional narrator to the story? Because in the book, the narrator is Charles Dickens. Like he says, like I'm writing you this story, explaining all of this
Hmm.
stuff to you guys, and so like, how do you feel about adding that little comedic rat on the side?
I mean, you need a point of view character. So, I mean, if
Mhm.
you're trying to talk to us, but you need someone in the story you can be speaking to sometimes in order to relate it properly. So,
Yeah.
I think it was a good choice.
Well, and again, this is targeted to kids, so that is going to get the laughs out of them. And he did get the laughs out of my children. When his tail caught on fire and he knocks him into the ice
Ice.
bucket and then he's a frozen popsicle. So again, for
He's
kids
here
to
for the
keep their
snacks.
intention, you're going to have those comedic reliefs every once in a while to
Mhm.
break up the story because they're not following the story. They're following it for the laughs. And so
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need that character for that.
And who can't relate to a character who's there for the food?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, amen. Yeah, I thought it was good too how they like removed Gonzo and Rizzo from like the Ghost of Christmas Future, so that way, like, because that is like the arguably like the scariest and most like intense scene or like series of scenes in the book and in the movie, and so like being like, no, you guys got to pay attention. Like this is where it gets real, and removing that comedy out, I think was the right choice. So that way we could really like be focused on what Scrooge is going through and like the horror aspect of what he's experiencing.
That's a good
And do
point.
you
Yeah.
guys want to talk about the three spirits and how they were
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
brought to life on screen? Because
That'd be interesting.
I, like I said, I grew up watching this adaptation and I don't remember the last time I had seen it, but we were watching it and when the Ghost of Christmas Past came on, I
Hmm.
turned to my husband, I'm like, I totally thought this was played by a real kid when I was watching it growing up. I did
Yeah.
not realize it was also a puppet
Also, it's
until
puppet. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
today. I was like, wow, like the way we perceive things when we're that little
Hmm.
and then when we go back and we watch it, it's like it's wild.
Yeah, I think it was like the opening number where they're singing about Scrooge, and I'm watching it with my fiance, and he's like, "Dude, like the effects are so good. Like this looks like so real and so believable. Like obviously besides like the fact that there's Muppets around, but like
Right.
everything else, like for it being a Muppet movie, like all the
Mhm.
practical effects
Back
of the
then.
Muppets and the set and the costumes, like everything looks so good still for it being from 1992. And then we saw the Ghost of Christmas Past. We're like, there's the 1992 CGI, like
Yeah.
to get that
Kermit.
like floating effect. Like I
Yeah.
was like, ooh, that's
Speaking
a
of the
little janky.
sets, I was very impressed with the way they did the town because
Hmm.
I was like, this is probably a set that they build, like a miniature that they built, and then they have the camera coming through.
Hmm.
And like it just what they could do back in the day to make it look so good. Like, yes, we have CGI today and it looks great, but what they did back then and how they did it, and like things like Star Wars and what they did, and they had
Hmm.
paintings, and then they had the miniature ships. It's just amazing what they could do back in the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Practical effects were
ingenuity of
cool.
practical effects is
Yes.
way underrated.
There was a scene of Kermit walking that he was singing that was like, okay, that looks like really bad CGI nowadays. Like that's what I expect from a really, really, really B movie or C movie. But I
Yeah.
was like, okay, 1992 and a puppet walking down a street. I guess I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then next was, I want to backtrack a little bit to, they added the Marley brother, the second Marley, Jacob and Robert
Oh
Marley.
yeah.
There's only one in the book, but you had
Mm-hmm.
to have, what is it? Statler and something.
I forget what their names
I
are,
don't know.
but that's another thing. Their song, like I remembered that.
Yeah.
So that was the only song I remembered. Like I forgot that this was a musical, even though it's the Muppets. And then their song came on. I'm like, yes, Marley and Marley. I know
Yeah.
this song.
Marley and
Yeah,
Marley,
I think they were the right choice to be the Marleys, and even adding the other Marley, like it didn't matter to have two or
Yeah,
one, like,
it
so I think
worked.
that was a good choice. And I like that, yeah, like that song is really catchy, it sticks in your head. And then like even the CGI of the scene of them dancing and like the shaking the chains, whoa, like it was cute, it was good.
Hmm.
It gave them the ability to bounce off each other and not just be talking to Scrooge in a serious manner.
Yeah, yeah. And again, most of what they were saying were direct quotes that Jacob Marley's ghost said to Scrooge in the book too,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
always really awesome when like any property, when they take the source material directly, or they take lines directly from the source material rather, like that's always cool to see that the creators of the adaptation really respect the original work. So always
Definitely.
appreciate that. Next up, Ghost of Christmas Present. He felt like a fun, jolly guy.
Yeah.
And the fact that I really loved, even in both versions, the way he aged throughout the day, like the idea that this is Christmas Day and he's here for the day, and then our Christmas spirit
Yeah.
is reborn the next year. We
Mm-hmm.
have our day with Christmas, and then we move back on.
Mm.
Yeah, really like that symbolism too. Okay, and then finally, the Ghost of Christmas Future.
My kids did get a little iffy about this. And the thing that they had a problem with is they couldn't see its face. And I'm like, yeah, you're not supposed to. And like, I didn't want to get into like the Grim Reaper and all of that. But um, I thought, again, like for the time, they did a really good job with this character's design,
Mm-hmm.
and making it creepy enough, but not too creepy that because it is a kids movie, but it still like um, does the job.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of, you could almost see a face in the mask if you look
Hmm.
close, and so it was like I was straining to see the whole time, like, is that a pig's face? Do I know this character from anything else? Is this one of the puppets we've already seen wearing this? I couldn't get anything, but it kept me interested. It definitely was a little bit freaky, but not too bad for a kid. I'm sure it gave you enough of the to feel, oh, this is serious. This is something is bad about this character, which
Mm-hmm.
it's really just bad in this case because it's talking about the future and death and things like that a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
But some people might have a really great future in their Christmas. So
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking about Dementors the whole time.
yeah, there's that.
So I was like,
Good point.
that looks like the inspiration for a Dementor. If I've like,
Ever
I don't know
seen
what
one?
her inspiration was, but that looks like it. Okay, what's up next? Okay, so um I mean, there's not really too much to go on because the story is so short and the character
Hmm.
arc is like so well defined, and it's really just Scrooge going on a character arc, and it follows it to a T, I think.
Yeah.
So, were there any like,
His nephew and his and
yeah.
the wife there, another character that I don't even know if we didn't write down who the actor was or anything, but that's just another character that is in the story we can talk about.
Yeah. His Fred and his wife Clara, those are it's not talked about. Well, it's mentioned that he's he is Scrooge's nephew, but
Only
not
nephew.
how he's the nephew. So in the book it explains that Scrooge had a younger sister. So that's his sister's son. And then let me see.
Oh, and then there was the love story in the past as well that
Mm-hmm.
flamed out.
I'm sure we'll get more into that when we start talking about the plot in
Right.
the next episode. Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
another character that technically is in the
Hmm.
story.
Hmm.
Yeah. So Fred was played by Stephen McIntosh, and his wife Clara was played by Robin Weaver. And then the love interest for Scrooge, Belle, was played by Meredith Braun.
Okay. And those were other human characters, which is good since, having
Yeah.
the human character played related to puppets is always very, very strange. So,
Yeah,
having all of
sketchy.
those people be played with human characters and that kind of be our point of view is good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Do you guys have anything else to say? Just because it's kind of a quicker, it's quick read, it's quick film.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have anything else to add in regards to our characters?
I think that's a good place to
Yeah, I
wrap
don't
up
think I
the
have
character
anything
arcs. We
else.
can go into the rest next week's episode, the story arc, but that'll be
Okay.
exciting.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody, on this week's episode of Book Watch covering A Christmas Carol and the characters. Join us next week when we talk about the plot and how well the Muppets Christmas Carol follows the plot of Charles Dickens' classic story. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Book Watch. I hope you enjoyed this journey into the world of page-to-screen adaptations. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share it with your fellow book and movie lovers. If you'd prefer to watch along, you can check the show out on YouTube. You can follow the show on Instagram at Bookwatch Podcast, and you can follow me, Sarah-Daye, on Instagram at captain.mcdee. That's MCDEE. You can also join the conversation in the Book Watch Lounge on Facebook at www.facebook.com/groups/bookwatchlounge. If you would like to support the podcast, you can join the Patreon at www.patreon.com/bookwatchpodcast. Tiers start at only $4 a month, and I'd love to have you over there. If you have a favorite adaptation you'd like to cover with me, I'd love for you to apply to be on the show with the contact form on our website at www.bookwatchpodcast.com. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and I'll see you next week.